majority of voters believe the U.S. is going in the wrong direction. A new poll from Politico shows 70% of registered voters believe the country has, quote, pretty seriously gotten off track. And joining me now to discuss is Tom Bevan, co-founder and president of Real Clear Politics. Tom, welcome back. Always so great to see you. A lot to get to, but first, I want to talk about those poll numbers that I just mentioned. What are your thoughts on that, and what do you think that may signal for the midterm elections?
Well, it's obviously not good for Democrats and the party in power controlling all three the two chambers of Congress and the White House. And this is along the same lines we've seen with a lot of polls, whether you look at the right track, wrong track, where more than 2/3 think the country is headed in the wrong direction, whether you look at the president's job approval rating, whether you look at concerns about inflation and the economy, if you look at the generic congressional ballot. I mean, everywhere Democrats turn, they are seeing signs of doom and gloom. And unless something changes between now and November, they're in for a very rough night.
Yeah, something else I want to talk about, this Fox News report. Republicans on the House Select Committee for the coronavirus crisis are highlighting this cozy relationship between the CDC officials and the American Federation of Teachers, saying the CDC positioned the teachers union to give line-by-line edits on school-related COVID guidance. Let's talk a little bit more about that and your thoughts there.
Well, obviously, this is something that the White House denied at the time and said that they were not cooperating with the teachers unions in such a close fashion. And now it turns out that, in fact, they were giving them authority over and inserting language into the guidance of the CDC regarding schools. And so this is just another example, I think, of where the White House really sort of fudged and was not, as they told us repeatedly over the course of the last couple of years, just following the science.
Yeah, something else I want to talk about, staying with COVID. Dr. Anthony Fauci recently suggested that we could possibly go back to lockdowns or other COVID restrictions due to this new BA2 subvariant. Your take on that, and how do you think if that were to happen, people would respond?
I don't think people would respond well. I think one of the things that we've seen now coming out over in the media over the last couple of months is just how detrimental lockdowns were, not only for the economy and for businesses, but also for children. We're seeing the learning loss, we're seeing the emotional scars, we're seeing the depression rates and suicides and things of those natures. And I think it's pretty well established now that lockdowns were very harmful, particularly to kids. And so I don't think this is something that, while Fauci may say that just out of an abundance of caution, that's certainly not where the administration is, and it's definitely not where the American people are.
And some other news, the Washington Post authenticated emails from Hunter Biden's laptop and confirmed today that the president's son had multi-million-dollar deals with Chinese executives. And of course, this comes on the heels of the New York Times admitting the laptop is real, a story, as you know, the New York Post first reported back in October of 2020. I'd like to get your reaction to all this.
Well, I mean, it's a couple of years late, and after both of those news organizations dismissed it as a fake scandal, and the New York Post was obviously, their reporting was censored at the time, just in advance of the election. So it's a too little, too late, in my opinion, in terms of these journalistic organizations finally coming to grips with the fact that the Hunter Biden laptop was real, and they actually are now taking the time to authenticate them. The question now really goes to the next level, which is, will they investigate the potential links to the president himself? We know, we have a former associate of Hunter Biden's who said that he met with President Biden about these business deals, and we know that there are emails indicating that Hunter Biden was holding some equity for the big guy who has been identified by that former associate as Joe Biden himself. So we'll see whether the press remains curious about this story now that they've finally gotten interested 2 years after it officially broke.
Tom, we have a little less than a minute left. I'm curious what else you're following now.
Well, obviously, we're focused on the election. We talked about the initial poll results that came out. The generic congressional ballot, there was a Harvard-Harris poll that came out yesterday. Republicans up 6 points. But the astonishing piece of data in that poll is that among independents, Republicans are up 18 points in the generic congressional ballot. That's the question that is asked. If the election were held today, would you vote for a Republican or a Democrat? That is a national poll, which means that in swing states and swing districts around the country, It's most likely even more lopsided in terms of favor for Republicans. So that is a bad omen for Democrats, and we're keeping a close eye on that number and whether Democrats can improve it here in leading up to the midterms.
Okay, we'll leave it right there. Thanks so much, Tom, for your time. Always appreciate it.
Thank you.